Hello again and welcome. Michael Pizzolla here. I'd like to welcome you to this edition of the Value Capping Rant. This is the 2022 Arkansas Derby, Florida Derby, and Jeff Ruby Stakes races. Three Derby preps that are being held this Saturday, coming Saturday, April 2nd, 2022. I'd like to give you, for those of you who don't know me, a very, very brief introduction. My name is Michael Pizzolla. I've been teaching and writing about this wonderful game of thoroughbred racing for over 30 years. I am the author of the best-selling handicapping book, Handicapping Magic, co-author of the classic Pace Makes the Race. I am the creator of the original online racing forum. You can find out all about that at posttimedaily.com. And I'm the creator of the ValueCapper software. This is the software I will be using in this video. Again, I'm not going to pitch you on anything. Please, if you're interested in it, more about the theory of value capping, you can go to ValueCapper.com. There's a wonderful video course that will be sent to your mailbox, your email box every couple of days. It's free. If you're not interested in the software, fine. Watch the first couple of videos. I think it will really help your game, no matter what method you use. Look, here's what I do. Here's why I'm doing these videos, and here's what I do with my coaching group, the Wizards Forum. Okay, I help horse players and handicappers and owners and trainers and breeders and so forth. But I help them, especially those who bet, succeed in the modern game. And I do that by helping them overcome overwhelm, because there's so many details about this game, and adopting a value-oriented approach, really focusing in on increasing their return on investment, rather than being so concerned about percentage of winners. There's a big difference between that. And unlike others who are concerned with predicting the particular, I had that horse, I didn't know it was going to pay $5.40. No, I'm not interested in doing that. I teach players to find good quality overlays, betting if there's value, passing if there isn't, and developing a stress-free investment style. Look, this is not a touting video. If you want a touting video, please, there are hundreds of them about these particular races. It's not what I do, it's not what I've ever done. I'm doing these to demonstrate these principles, the principles of value capping. And I'm not interested in making a pick in every race. If there's no value, I'll tell you that. But if I do find a potential value bet, I'm going to tell you exactly how I would bet it and at what price. Okay? The value capping framework, very simple, not easy to implement, but very simple in its conception. Bet horses you like that the public shouldn't. Okay, preferably running against flawed favorites. You wait for your price and you let the bet make you. I've spent the last few decades of my life, okay, developing a tool that helps me do it. Again, it's not an automatic, it's not a crystal ball, and you'll see how it's got some moving parts that I like to use and I like to look at. But this ValueCapper software that I'll be showing you, it makes pace projections. It relies on very sophisticated pace ratings that are based on the original incremental velocity that I helped develop back in the 80s. Oh my gosh, this sounds like a long time ago, probably because it is. And but it uses them in a very contrarian way. And of course, I've refined, and especially in the level in the realm rather of projections and adjustments. The software examines form cycles, makes an odds line, it does all of that. But again, it's not a crystal ball. And, I'm doing this video before scratches, before changes, before weather, and all the rest of that. So, who knows? With that said, if you'd like, please come along. These are some snapshots I've taken from the ValueCapper software for these three Derby prep races, the Arkansas Derby, the Florida Derby, and the Jeff Ruby Stakes, which will all be held this Saturday, April 2nd. Here we go. The 2022 Grade 1 Arkansas Derby, and when I open ValueCapper, here's what I see. Okay, and here are the things that I focus in upon which I focus. It's a pressured, highly pressured race. That means there may be enough speed up front that they go too fast to maintain it. May, underline, may favor a closer in the race with good late fractions. I also notice there's a gap after the first horse on my line, We the People, the 9. The gap goes down to Secret Oath. Now, those happen to be the top 2 morning line favorites in the race. I don't think there's much of a surprise on it. I do have imbalances in the 3 and the 5, Barber Road and Un Ojo. So those are colts that I want to keep my eye on. What's going on with them? I know that Un Ojo, because anytime a horse pays like $150 odd to win, catches my attention. I know that Un Ojo beat Barber Road last out. So let's take a look. And the first thing I want to look at, okay, so I project the race as being pressured, highly pressured. But how is Oaklawn at a mile and an eighth at 9 furlongs? So what I did is I took a look, and I had to go back because they don't run this distance very often. So I went back all the races that I had from 2018 forward. And if you look at the last 4 races, no one's gone wire to wire. They've come off the pace, and the percentage energy, the last couple, 50.11, 51.47, and you might say, Michael, I noticed that one of them is a $10,000 maiden claimer, and the other is a non-winner's something allowance. I can't really read the condition. Okay. So let's narrow it down. And we get to looking at just the stakes races, and we notice that at the position at the first call, it generally not on the lead. There have been a couple. And the position at the second call, similarly, most of them are off the pace. And then you look at the percentage of energy distribution, and we see some of them in the 50s and below 50s. So I wouldn't say this is necessarily a very early or a very late profile, but being late doesn't hurt. And if this is a highly pressured race and the late horses may have an advantage, positionally, well, then the track is not going to hurt that. Okay, so let's look. What's We the People doing? And then there's that other cluster of horses. So We the People, what do you say? You know, this colt came in, won its maiden going away, then was entered into an allowance, non-winners won that going away. The target pace in the race in my numbers is 158.5. This colt ran 161 last time, and if you notice in both of its races, it closed up to the stretch, and then it was kind of close up. Then it got the lead in the stretch and then extended that lead. Now, that's really good if you've bet on the horse, especially to win. But it also can tend a little bit maybe to exaggerate that late part of the race because we don't really know. Maybe it was just galloping or coasting in that last fraction. However, absolutely nothing wrong with We the People other than it's never run in a graded stakes, and this is a graded stakes race. So the fulcrum in the race, and if you're wondering what a fulcrum is about, I did a whole video on it. Just go into YouTube and Google Michael Pizzolla fulcrum. There's an explanation. Basically, it's kind of a second call pace target in the race. And Secret Oath is that fulcrum. Secret Oath is also the target total pace in the race, or master pace in the race, 158.5. Comes out of her last race. She is 3 for 3 at Oaklawn, and there's the big question. This is a filly running against the boys. Now, is this a winning colors? I don't know. Is it a champion filly that can run well against the boys? Don't know. She is 3 for 3 at Oaklawn. She has run really well. By the way, the trainer I noticed is Dwayne Lucas, who I think has some experience with running fillies in these Triple Crown races and Derby preps. So her percentage energy is in range. This is another type of running style where she closed to the stretch and then extended again. So if this were a normal day, I'm pretty much done. I got the two favorites who have decent numbers, nothing wrong with them at all. And, they seem to have running styles not harmful. Now, if I were going to say, no, I don't know, We the People, wired one race, came from third in the other race, won them both. Secret Oath comes from a little off the pace, which would be good in this race. Who else do we have? Well, we have the colt that finished third by a half a length only in the Rebel last out at Oaklawn, losing to Unoho, the 5-horse in this race. Unoho, who, did I mention he paid over $150 to win? I mean, no way that I have that horse. I didn't think the race was very playable. But in any event, Barber Road, he runs late in the routes. He's got a really good late fraction in this field. I've got it circled there with or squared there with an 89. The energy percentage in the last two races at Oaklawn, very good. Either of them would fit right in the profile. I guess you could say it's proven in graded races. I mean, heck, it lost by half a length in the grade 2 last and a length and a half in the grade 3 Southwest. Second back at Oaklawn, been in the money every time he's run at Oaklawn. Unfortunately, hasn't won yet at Oaklawn, second and 2 seconds and a third. Speaking of Unoho, this is a deep closer. This is a colt that comes from way back. Now, he was closer up in the Rebel. But if you look at the Withers, where he finished second, closed ninth position by 10 lengths. Even in the sprints that it ran, the Aqueduct, the New York Stallion Stakes, a New York State-bred race, closed from 7 by 5.5. So this is a very late race. The total numbers that it has, they're not great. He ran a 156.7 in its last race. The other races, they don't come up. Again, it's got a good late fraction last race. He and Barber Road both ran, really nicely. And the percentage of early is in range. The last one in the arc is the 2 chasing time. The numbers for this colt, 158.5 is the target. They're good all but for the last race, the Rebel. And is this colt up to graded company? I don't know. The Rebel, again, he earned not very great numbers. It took 2 times to break its maiden, another 2 times to win its non-winners, one other than. I'm less than enthusiastic about this colt, although I might use them in exotics. So where does that leave us? It leaves us to be careful of the 4-horse. And if you notice at the top it says inflated odds. What does that mean? Well, it means that I no longer think that, as I think many of us did in our youth, that we knew everything. And if someone did not agree with us, that they were wrong and we were absolutely right. I know I've been guilty of that many years ago. But here, my odds line does not give Doppelganger a good shot. The morning line maker says it should be, second favorite in the race, or I think that there's going to be a 3-way tie among Secret Oath, We the People, and Doppelganger. And in the past, I would have said, hey, I don't give it any number. The source has got no shot. Now I put it up big in red. Hey, inflated odds. Morning line maker's seeing something that I don't. So let's take a look and see what is going on with Doppelganger. First of all, as far as total numbers, again, our target is 158.5. 154 last time in the San Felipe, not great. Really good number in the San Vicente, and middle of the road number in its maiden win. So the numbers are up and down. The early, the percentage energy looks a little early to me. So could it win the race? Sure. These are all potential champions. Would I bet it? No. No, I'm going to take a shot. Doppelganger wins, beats me, takes my money. I don't think I'll even put him into exotics, but let's see. So where does that leave us? Michael, this is a lot of interesting stuff, but where are we? Well, here's the deal. Here's my assessment. The top two horses, the number 9, We the People, big number last race, 2 for 2. It's untested in graded races. The 2, Secret Oath, she's untested against males. Now, they could be the 9 could be anything. The 6, Secret Oath, 4 for 6 lifetime wins. Plus, I got questions on Doppelganger. I got a lot of questions in this race. Typically, I would be leaning against playing. Now, if they don't run, meaning that, okay, Doppelganger's too early. We the People, untested, not up for graded stakes. The filly doesn't like running against the males. Whatever. Let's say they don't run, but how do you know if they'll run or they're not? You don't. I don't. And truth of the matter is nobody does. Now, they may have their own opinions about it. Lucas may say, oh, she's been running along with the males in workouts and just around the barn, whatever they say. I'm from New York City. I don't know about barns. But he's speculating, and I'm nothing against Mr. Lucas, please. I'm just using it as an example. Nobody knows with certainty. It's all speculation, okay? So in my way of thinking, price will answer that. Price and the player's temperament. Now, a more conservative player will say, hey, you know what? The public has the right horses and filly in this colt and filly in this race. The 9 and the 6, We the People and Sacred Oath. I'm not gonna swim against that tide. And they'll pass the race. A more aggressive player can say, look, those are not locks because of the reasons I just mentioned, the lack of experience and the filly against the colts. I'm going to take a shot with the Rebel reversers that may have a shot at a price. If I were to look at it this way, I would be inclined to favor the 3, Barber Road, only at 10 to 1 and up. Secondarily, I would look at Un Ojo, again at 20 to 1 and up, because I want to get paid for all of that speculation that I did. We the People's not ready for this kind of company, and Secret Oath, she's a filly, and okay, you got to be right about a lot of stuff. If I don't get these prices, I won't bet. And if I were more conservative bent of player, I'd pass this race. Now, if the morning line maker is correct, he or she has got Un Ojo with a lower morning line than Barber Road. That may, maybe there'll be a nice price on Barber Road. In any event, I would take an extra exacta with the Rebel reversing. Barber Road over Un Ojo, and I'd take them as a box, but I would take a straight exacta as well. Again, a lot has to happen. The pressure has to develop. These horses have to get trips. We the People is not a monster. Secret Oath, who's got equally as good numbers and as the Fulcrum and the Target, doesn't run her best lifetime race. So, maybe a little shot at Barber Road, 10 to 1 and up. If they just forget about Un Ojo again, he goes off at 20, 25 to 1. I'll have a little money on that, and definitely a 3-5 straight in box exacted. Don't get the price on those colts. I'm not interested in the race. And by the way, those I didn't pick those numbers out of the air. Okay, these prices 10 to 1 up and up on Barber Road and 20 to 1 on Un Ojo, excuse me. Those are based on the ValueCapper line, the odds line. They offset the risk of all the stuff that I don't know, but they don't eliminate the risk. Okay? That's why they run the race. All right. With that said, moving to the 2022 Grade 1 Florida Derby. Now, this is a much easier race, and I'm sorry you're not going to like, maybe not going to like, the conclusion of this race. Here we are. When you open up ValueCapper, this is what you see. Gee, Michael gives me a headache. Would you please explain what you're looking at? Sure. The top 3 colts, Charge It, White Abarrio, And Classic Causeway. Strike Hard is fourth on the line. There's another inflated odds colt, and that happens to be Simplification, the morning line favorite in the race. But here's the issue with this race for me. Remember in value capping, you want to find horses you like that the public shouldn't. In this case, the horses that I like, in other words, the value capper gives good numbers and a good odds line to, the public should like them as well. On top of that, I've got a situation where the positional look at the race makes it look like a pressured race. The positional plus velocity makes it look like an unpressured race. So again, head scratching. Let's take a closer look. When we look at the track profile for 1 1/8 races on the dirt at Gulfstream, look at the Florida Derbies in the past year. They tend a little late, and I'm basing that on both the positions at the first and second calls and more the percentage early expenditure, where, at 50 or below is very late. 50 to like 51 is kind of late. 51-ish to 52-ish is kind of the middle presser, and above 52 is a little early, and above 53 is really early. Okay, so, but look at the last few Florida Derbies. 50.22, very late. 51.30, late pressing. 49.66 in 2019, really late. And 50.95. So I would almost prefer looking at this race from a late point of view. And in fact, positionally, this is a late race. So, first thought, hey, I want to make some money in this race. Woohoo! It's the 9 furlongs on the Gulfstream dirt. They trend a little late. So I'm going to sort this race late, and I'll find some prices. Well, guess what? Now you got Charge It, White Barrio, Classic Causeway, and now you have Simplification up there with them. So instead of the top 3 morning line colts, you got the top 4. Can we throw stones at any of these? Let's see. By the way, just so you know how ValueCapper made this call, there's a bunch of colts that want to be up by the lead. When we add, and that's why positionally this looks like a pressured race. When we add velocity in it, White Barrio may be able to get a loose lead at the second call. If it doesn't, O Captain and the 9 and the 3 Simplification, Charge It Class, they're all going to be kind of battling. If White Barrio makes that big middle move, he might be able to get a nice lead, and then it will act more like an unpressured race. But again, it doesn't matter, because when you mix it all together, you're still getting the chalk. So look at Charge It. Charge It is the fulcrum in the race. White Barrio is the target, 157.7. This colt has absolutely no issues with the numbers. Only issue is we're asking, or Mr. Pletcher is asking Charge It to have the first race against winners be the Florida Derby. Almost won at first asking, blew out the field at second asking at a mile at Gulfstream. Is this a big jump from maiden special weight? Sure. But could this be a very special, Tappet colt? Yeah, it could be. See, I said Tappet colt to make it look like I knew a lot about stuff. Come on. You don't have to be an expert at breeding of the races to know this combination, Todd Pletcher, Mr. Pletcher, Mr. Saez, Tappet, well-regarded colt. Now, White Barrio, the colt that may have that big middle move, he's been on a layoff since February, but he was also on a layoff from November when he was running down to Churchill, when he ran that race at Churchill, rather, and he came back to win the Holy Bull, a Grade 3. Won it in great style. Has had 4 lifetime races. Won 3 of them. How are his numbers? Fine. In fact, it's the target in the race. How is the percentage early looking? Really good. Last few have been, 50-63, 49-16. Now again, there's that big late fraction and a big win. So nothing much wrong to say about it. Didn't run a good race down in Churchill. That's about the worst you can say. Classic Causeway just won the Grade 3 Davis at Tampa Bay and the Grade 2 Tampa Bay Derby. The number in the Tampa Bay Derby was not that great, but this colt's other numbers were really good compared to this field. 150, it's 161 breaking his maiden, and the others are strong. Maybe you could say the percentage energy is a little early, but not that much. This is a real contender in the race. And then Simplification. Simplification, it just won the Fountain of Youth from way off the pace. And it won the Macho Macho Man, was that? I don't remember the name of that stakes race. But by wiring that field, and it also wired its maiden win. The Holy Bullet came off the pace. The numbers, except in the Fountain of Youth, were awfully good. A couple of numbers, again, according to my lights, the master pace rating. We've got a couple in the 160s. The percentage earlies are in range. What do you say? I think the public's got the right colts in this race. Now, the one colt in the race in the ARC, in the above random cluster, the ARC, I don't know much what to say about it. It's untested, if you will, in that it did run in that SF Davis race down at Tampa Bay and finished fourth. It's been off since February. Its 2 wins were in a maiden race and in a non-winners 1. It hasn't done much to distinguish itself. The numbers are fine. It's got a versatile running style. Looks like in its maiden race and its allowance race, come up, kind of close. Last 2 races, it's closed. At a big enough price, I might be tempted to take. It's got good late fractions, but I'm still staring at Charge It, White Barrio, Classic Causeway. And again, if we sort it on the late side, Simplification comes up. That's just, in my opinion, too much to beat. So my assessment, and this is my assessment, you may think differently. Going to pass the race. ValueCapper's assessment agrees with the public's probable assessment. Translation of all those words, there's no price. Not worth a bet. Maybe because I'm a fan, or, I allow myself a couple of recreational bets. Sure, I would throw a couple of bucks at Strike Hard, the 1. But honestly, only at 25 to 1 and up, which is the ValueCapper price on this horse. Meaning that, look, it's a pass race. You're not going to get much to bet at. Now, if I have a few bucks on Strike Hard, goes off at 30 to 1, and I collect, yeah, sure. Woohoo! But as a prime bet, now, I think the public's got the right colts in this race. Sorry, but that's how it is. Now, moving from the Florida Derby to the Jeff Ruby Stakes. It's a Grade 3 at Turfway, but it's got enough that if you win it, you punch your ticket to the Kentucky Derby. Now, there are a couple of colts in this race that are already have already qualified. I'd have to think about which ones, but I think they're the obvious ones in this race. But there's going to be a lot of competition because, who that owns a 3-year-old does not want to see it run in the Derby? The Derby. So here's what ValueCapper produces right out of the box. And let me point out a couple of things. You can always pause the video if you want to study this and like that. There's a big gap after the top horse, Royal Spirit. This is being run at 9 furlongs, 1 mile and an eighth, on the all-weather, the synthetic surface at Turfway. The projection of the pace of the race is neutral and unknown. And so the bias of the race is just neutral. In other words, not biased towards the early numbers or the late numbers. Royal Spirit has got that little gap. And then there's a cluster of 4 horses. How is the the all-weather track in these mile and an eighth races in stakes races. And by the way, that's not a typo. Okay, we say stakes, S-T-A-K-E-S. This is the Jeff Ruby Stakes, S-T-E-A-K-S, because Brian, whatever his name is, that now calls himself Jeff Ruby, runs great restaurants. I've been to the one in Cincinnati. It's phenomenal. Anyway, steakhouses. That's why it's spelled steaks there. I want you to think that we made a typo in there. But in the last two Jeff Ruby steaks that I have that's run on the all-weather at a fast condition, they ran very late. The one 2018, 7 at the first call, 5 at the second call, one going away, 50.41 early, which is energy rather, which is very late, and breaking from the 11 posts in 2020, broke to the third position of the first call, third position of the second call, and won at a 50.99. So if I had to speculate, I would say this would favor the late-ish horses. Now, if I do sort it at late, I get a slightly different mix of that second cluster, but Royal Spirit stays right on top. Now, so here are the two side by side. On the left is what ValueCapper produces with a neutral bias. On the right with a late bias. Thing that's similar about it is that Royal Spirit has a gap over it. The other similarity is the two morning line favorites, Tis the Bomb and Stolen Base, are still in that second cluster. Let's take a look quickly at these colts. Royal Spirit, what are you going to say? It's been off since February, but it won its maiden off a layoff. Its first race, lifetime, was pretty good performance at Saratoga. It's got really good numbers in its last couple of races, looking at a target of 154.9, 161 in its last race. The only thing, by the way, it's got strong late fraction, which you might expect when all of his races have been on the turf. Now again, that's why I went through that analysis of showing that on the all-weather at Turfway, it gives an advantage to horses that run a little late. And this is certainly a late horse. If it's ready, if it doesn't mind the change of surface from turf to all-weather, and please don't spare me. We all know that turf horses love going to the Tapato or the all-weather, depending on the kind of synthetic. Please, you're just speculating here. I mean, I'm going by like a lot of work here to make these percentage energy numbers. So yeah, we all have our theories about it, but what it comes down to is we don't know. This horse is doing something for the first time. We don't know. Let's look at the others. Stolen Base, what are you going to say? Made a very, very nice close last time in the Battaglia at Turfway, all weather. The thing I'm not fond about in that race, both for the winner and Stolen Base, boy, they were really battling down the stretch. Sometimes that takes a lot out of a colt. Sometimes, they're young, they're resilient, they can come back. I don't love that out of 7 races, this colt has finished second and third 4 times. 3 seconds and a third. Don't love that. Tis the Bomb, the winner of the Battaglia. Again, a good close, but a very hard stretch race. Again, this colt came in second in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile, Grade 1. It won the Bourbon last year. It was a hard-fought win at 8-5 in the Battaglia. But what are you going to say? It's 1 for 1 at Turfway on the all-weather. Great Escape. Well, the source is the target. No problem meeting the target. Percentage early looks a little early to me, but there's not much I can say, quote-unquote, wrong with that colt. Black Ladder is on a layoff, but the last out was on a layoff at the synthetic surface at Golden Gate, where all he did was close from 7 all the way back in the field to win. Today, he's also on a layoff. In other words, that race at Golden Gate was on a layoff from December to February. This race is also on a layoff and going on to a 9 furlong all-weather. 1-for-1 on the all-weather at 9 furlongs, something a lot of these other colts can't say. I'm interested in certainly using this one in exotics. Dalwajiak Chief, I probably just butchered that name, sorry. Another one where most of his races have been on the turf. The 2 races this colt has run on the dirt, let's be kind and say unimpressive. 6 by 8 3/4, 7 by 29. The races on the turf are kind of sort of competitive. Their master pace ratings aren't great, but some of the late fractions are good enough perhaps to get this in an exotic. So here's my assessment. The morning line favorites, the 7 Tis the Bomb and the 2 Stolen Base, who ran 1-2 in the Battaglia last out, they're the obvious horses. Colts, okay? They got the numbers, they've got the connections, yada, 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 yada. However, if the 1, Royal Spirit, adapts from the turf to the all-weather track, it's got a big advantage. And I would happily bet it. But, Michael, will it adapt? Do you think the trainer will, he must have made an assessment, looked at the hoof shape and conformation, and you all know that if you have a trapezoidal hoof conformation. Okay, I'm being a little silly here. But the honest answer, we don't know. We can speculate. The answer will be contained in the price. So you see, value isn't just price. We're not just saying, I'm betting this horse because it's price. No, we've made an assessment. Hey, here's the risk. The risk is this colt does not adapt well from the turf to its first try at a non-turf surface, the all-weather surface. So, of course, the conservative player could just say, no, I think they have the right colts in the race, the ones from the Battaglia, and, an aggressive player, bet the 1. In fact, if I get 12-1 and up, certainly I would bet this 1, Royal Spirit, knowing full well that it might not like the non-turf surface. And I'll use some of the others in exactas. I'll include certainly that 12, even maybe the 8 and the 9, who I think are going to be, also bomb price. I'm looking to make a bit of a score. But on the win side, it will be, because I'm not interested if the 2 from the Battaglia, Tis the Bomb and Stolen Base, if they run, there's not going to be any good, in my opinion, good value in the race. But I think at 12-1 and up, of course, I would love something closer to 15-1. I would bet Royal Spirit at a closing kind of trip to. I'm hoping the public will just say, "Oh, this is a turf horse," and not look under the hood at the percentage early. Not that most of the public has those numbers. To project a potential upset. So that's it. I know I kind of went quickly, but we had a lot of ground to cover on the Arkansas Derby, the Florida Derby, and the Jeff Ruby Stakes. I hope you've gotten not only some idea of, what do you like, Michael? Of course, there's a little of that, but more into the way value capping looks at a race, the way a value capper, both the person value capper and the software value capper, looks at a race to assess it in terms of value. Anyway, best of luck on Saturday. I thank you so much for spending this time with me and letting me yammer on about this great and glorious game. I wish you all the best. And until next time, it's Michael Pizzolla saying, be well and let the bet make you. I'll see you soon.